You're listening to Reza Riffs with Keith Reza and Alan Lee, right here on LA Talk Radio.
Oh, she's here. Hi, Laura.
Hi, how are you?
Doing good. How are you?
Good. Reza?
I'm Keith Reza, yes.
Keith. Okay.
And
And
then
Victor.
Victor's my trusty sidekick.
Okay, great.
Yeah. How is your Thanksgiving?
It was lovely. Thank you.
Oh,
How
excellent.
about yours?
It was good. I had pumpkin pie.
Excellent.
Yeah, I don't know. I just thought pumpkin pie was funny. Sorry. So Laura, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. And I want you to know, like I saw you on the news a couple months ago, and I thought this was really cool. Because you were helping people with cerebral palsy, like get in bathrooms at concerts, like little independent bathrooms. I thought that was pretty cool. What helped you? Because I know your son has cerebral palsy, but what helped you like really push that to get that at concerts and stuff?
Yeah, it's a totally new kind of invention. I think it comes originally out of the UK, if I'm not mistaken. And Momentum, which is an organization that used to be United Cerebral Palsy Los Angeles, has created them out of these mobile units, and they're just absolutely fantastic. So I work with Momentum. I work with the international arm called Wheels for Humanity, which is about bringing wheelchairs and physical therapy and seating systems to people all over the world. And so Momentum sent me all the specs and videos about it, and then asked me if I would do some press for it. And I was like, yeah, this is what people need.
Yeah.
It is absolutely amazing that even though we have bathrooms that are considered accessible, they're not accessible for everyone.
No, definitely.
I could not, my son would have a very difficult time using an accessible bathroom.
Yeah. I think that's just so awesome how you got involved in that. So that,
Yeah.
I mean, I don't have cerebral palsy, but I have autism. So like, I like it when people, do stuff for people like that. So I think that's really awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. Cool.
So I might backtrack a little, but I saw you on Barry and I thought you were fantastic.
Thank you.
And I wanted to know, like, how do you get that part? Because that was like the sweet part, the end of the show, everything's closing and you nailed it. You know what I mean?
Oh, you're so sweet. Thank you. I did a self-tape for Barry. I did several takes in my spare room. And my husband is a really good director. And so he takes credit for me getting that part.
Oh, nice.
Awesome. But it's so that's how I got it, a very traditional route of auditioning. And I felt so lucky because it was such a fun set and so creative and collaborative. And Bill and Henry, just super nice. Everyone super great.
Yeah. I like that show because it's very funny. Like even in the scenes that aren't supposed to be funny, it's funny. So like, I find it entertaining like that because it's also dark funny too, which is my type of humor.
Yeah. And really kind of out there.
Yeah.
Imagery that he was using towards the end of that show was really amazing. They did some really amazing things.
I also wanted to ask you because like you've done a lot of important projects, which we'll talk to on the questions, but I sense that on all the projects that I've seen, at least that you've done, that there's always a good story and there's always good writing involved. Like when you look for a script like that, is that how, like, what turns you on about that project?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I still fall in love with things after all this time of being an actor. I still read something and fall in love with it. And Sometimes I get it, sometimes I don't. That I was lucky with that one. And so, yeah, it's all about the writing, and can you find something there that not only speaks to you, but then propels you to the next level
Yeah.
of of like it jumps inside of you or something and makes something even more than you expected come out, or
Yeah.
different than you expected.
Now, how is it like? Because like when you like, for example, in the 80s and the 90s, where it was, not everybody was writing scripts, so script was very unique and stuff. And now it seems like there's scripts everywhere. Like, how do you pick the projects that you want to do? Because I'm sure all the writing's still good, but there has to be something that really makes you think, you know?
Yeah, and sometimes it's just like the people involved. Like I do this project called The Santa Clauses.
Oh, nice.
That's on Disney Plus. And I know one of the executive producers. I worked with him on Just Shoot Me, and he called me up and asked me to play La Bufana, the 900-year-old Italian witch.
Whoa.
It was just so effing fun. So sometimes it's like someone calling up and saying, will you do this thing? And it's so fun, and I'm so glad that I've done it. And then sometimes you read something that's really good, and you also feel this disconnect, like, wow, I really want to watch that, but I don't feel like I have anything to bring to this, or
Right.
I can't get inside of it. And so sometimes that's a weird feeling too, because you think, oh, well, I could do anything,
Yeah.
but will I bring something really special to this, or is it really charging me up? And if it's not, then sometimes I don't do it.
Yeah. I've like auditioned for a couple stuff because like I'm not an actor, I'm a stand-up comic. And
Mhm.
the stuff that I've auditioned for, I see like I usually lose all my parts to Rick Glassman, who's a great comic and an actor. But whenever I watch him on it, I always think, I could have done fucking better. But then I think maybe I couldn't. You know what I mean?
Well, there's a lot to deal with, right? When you're on a set,
Yeah.
waiting, talking, working with people, talking about the moments and the nervousness, the excitement, the embarrassment, there's so many things to deal with that sometimes, but you experience all of that as a stand-up comic, like
Oh
to the
yeah.
degree, to the
Yeah.
nth degree. I
Yeah.
mean, stand-up comedy has got to be the biggest test of nerves and fortitude.
Yeah, I mean, I like it because it's a real live interaction where, like, I think it obviously every comic's goal is to be on the TV and stuff, but I just love stand up where it's like maybe I don't really want to do it, even though I say you know what I mean? I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
That
Victor,
moment before you walk on stage where you think, why am I doing this? This is the scariest thing in the world. Why do I have to do this? And something comes over you and you walk out on stage.
exactly.
Crazy feeling. It's a crazy feeling.
Victor wanted to ask you a question real fast while I rearrange these.
Okay.
Oh, Keith, what a great transition. Anyway, I have a question, and you're so right about that. Going on stage, like I was like behind the curtain. I was like, what happens if I forget my first joke? I'm like, just say your second joke. I'm just like talking to myself. I'm like, I could totally open with my second joke. No one would know except me. So it's just like, yeah, I know, but it's just crazy because you think, well, what if? And why am I doing this? So I just it was so relatable. That wasn't my question. Sorry. How did performing in plays in college prepare you for television and feature-length films?
Well, I think just giving me the training of breaking down a script, knowing what the human event is, serving the story, serving the playwright, and the kind of work ethic, that feeling of being in front of an audience and feeling when it's a bit electric and it's working and they're with you, and when they're not. So I think it's the exercising the muscle of doing the work in any medium.
Yeah.
You know, it's the weightlifting, you know, I think like stand up and doing plays is kind of like the weightlifting, and then you know, film is kind of like the dancing on point. You know, they're like, they take equal amounts of grace, strength, and concentration, but they are different mediums.
Yeah,
Definitely. And also, like with film and stuff, like if you say you mess up on a line or whatever, they could just say cut, you could redo it, and nobody will know you messed up. You know what I mean? Unless it's a bad editor. But like, you know what I mean? Like, so I think that's kind of cool, because like everyone thinks everyone's perfect, but it's like, how many times did they mess up?
Yeah. And with a play, you get so much rehearsal. I mean, you know where you're going. You know that there's gonna be a night where you're gonna get on the train and the train doesn't stop.
Yeah.
So you, in essence, are prepared for that, and you may have all the nerves and things and fears and expectations, but you're in the moment. You've had the moment where you can't believe you're doing this, and then you walk on to the stage, and then you're there and present, and you're just rolling.
Oh yeah.
The train is just going down the track, and you'll get off in 2 hours, you know?
So I was in a play at the Crucible at my college, and I was just like one of the townsmen, like, burn her, you know? And there was a huge earthquake, and it stopped the whole play. Like everyone was like all distressed. And I, using my great stand-up skills, I was like, witchcraft. It got it got like the biggest laugh in the whole thing.
That was brilliant, dude.
Yeah. And
That
I feel like I totally disrespected Arthur Miller, right? And so the lady who was directing it, she's like, she didn't want me because like I took it as a comedy after that point. And I was just like, oh, but in the moment, I have it on film somewhere. I gotta send it to you because it was so funny.
That was brilliant. I think he would have appreciated that. Can't deny reality when something like that happens.
Yeah.
To acknowledge it and to break up the tension and the fear and with laughter is very appropriate.
Oh yeah. I wanted to ask you this, and you might not remember because I know you were on Just Shoot Me for 7 years, and I know like every episode is kind of phasey, but in the first season, your character had a roommate called Wally, and that was played by Chris Hogan, who's a brilliant comedian. I wanted to ask why it seemed like he was written out as the show, especially in the first season. I wanted to ask, what was was it a drama, or was that a writer's thing, or do you remember?
It was not any drama at all. Chris was so fantastic, and they loved him so much, and they loved writing for him. But they just felt like every time they went to the apartment, the story kind of slowed down or didn't have the same kind of energy. And I think they wanted to shift the focus and keep the focus back in the bullpen,
right,
the work environment. And so they felt like it was pulling the action away from the main story. And so although they loved Chris, it just happens sometimes. But you know, there was a couple of people cast as the roommate before Chris. It's almost like that storyline never really popped, and it wasn't anybody's fault.
Yeah.
They couldn't I think they couldn't see that until they started shooting. And
do you think that was maybe the magic of Spade too? Because I heard Spade was added after you guys shot the pilot, and then you had to reshoot the pilot.
Yeah. I think that was probably part of it too, is that all of a sudden the shift went to the bullpen and to all of those relationships. Like there was more to work with. There was a whole nother main character.
Yeah. Yeah. And then you did this movie that I actually watched a couple weeks ago because I love dark film noir. No, how do you say it? Noirs.
No, oh, now I can't say it.
Yeah.
Noir.
Yes,
Noir.
that's the word. This
Yeah.
is why we have Victor, Laura.
Just
Trusty.
chiming in, chiming in. Just
But it was with Liam Neeson. It was called Under Suspicion, and it was probably a late 80s, early 90s film, and I thought it was really good. And then, not to spoil it, but at the end you tell him, hey, just whisper in my ear if you did it or whatever. I was just curious, did he actually whisper something in your ear, or did he say, hey, this film's almost over, we could, or you know what I mean, like, do you remember?
Um, that was a really poignant moment and charged moment, as I recall. And I think that we were just in the moment. No, there was no fooling around.
Oh, nice.
That was
So
such a fun film. That was such a fun period film to do, with like great costumes and hats and great dialogue. And it was super fun for me to do that sort of role and to study all these women in history that were muses to artists, to study the models and muses of Picasso, and to kind of hang out in my hotel room and paint a little bit. And uh it was really cool. It was
oh
really cool. It was a really cool script. I really liked it.
yeah, and like we were talking about scripts. These next two questions are films I haven't seen, but I looked on the the Victor, what's that word?
noir.
He's no the okay, but I looked at the plot line, and you know how they give you a little detail of it, so I thought it was really cool. I wanted to ask about Jennifer because that seems like that's like a very, it's about Lou Gehrig disease, and that seems like something I would be very interested in. Like, what made you want to do that? Like, how did that come about?
Yeah, I mean, it was such an amazing story of these three sisters. And Jennifer's two sisters in real life not only were involved in the production of the film, but they were creating a foundation and medical research to with all of these scientists all around the world to try to find a cure to
Yeah,
save their sister. And they were trying to move medical mountains for her to save her life. And that was just really poignant to me.
yeah. It seems like it's a very, powerful film because, like I said, I like films about diseases and disabilities and stuff, and I feel sometimes Hollywood, like for example with Asperger's syndrome, I feel they get it way wrong because there's so many different um it's like there's so many different, I mean, I'm sure with cerebral palsy there's so different forms of it that they could stick on the stereotypes, but they don't really know much about it. Does that make
Mhm.
does that make sense?
Oh, absolutely.
Oh yeah.
I did this show maybe 2 years ago that had actors in it. It was about this group of young people, young adults who were living together, who happened to have autism, and the actors who played them also happened to have autism.
Oh, it was on the spectrum, right?
Was amazing.
I auditioned for that and I didn't get it. I lost to Rick Glassman. But yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, it was really cool. I just got to do a little guest star part, and it didn't get picked up for the next season, but that was pretty incredible. Also, the producer creator, his son happens to have autism, and there was also quite a few people on the crew who happened to have autism, and there was also a person who was a disability kind of, not counselor, but like someone kind of watching out for things on the set to
Yeah.
make sure. I can't think of the name right now. Like a
Victor?
disability advocate, like a disability advocate on the set.
Advocate, yeah.
And she and I talked for a long time too. And it was just like fantastic.
Oh, that's awesome.
And the performances were lovely. It was called I can't remember what it was called now.
The On the Spectrum show?
No, it wasn't called that, or it wasn't released under that title, but maybe it was cast under that title.
Yeah, when I auditioned, that's what it
called,
was.
Oh gosh, I can't remember. I'll email it to you when I
Yeah.
can.
We'll tweet each other about it.
And Joe Montana was in it.
Yeah, I loved him. Yeah.
Yes. And his I think he's been pretty open about that. His daughter happens to have autism as well.
Yeah.
So we were kind of like this it was a very warm and lovely kind of place to hang out and talk
Yeah.
about.
Oh, that's awesome. And then another film, which I didn't see, but I really want to see. I actually couldn't find it anywhere. It was called Where the Day Takes You. And it has Dermot Mulroney, who I think is fantastic.
Yes,
which-
yes, yeah.
So I wanted to ask
was
about
lovely.
that.
That was a very long time ago. I think that was 1990, maybe?
Whoa.
Yeah, that was a long time ago. And there's some, I think there's some really good performances in it. I have a sort of smaller part, but there's some Laura Flynn Boyles in that, and a whole bunch of people who were very young at that time who have gone on to have pretty fabulous careers.
Yeah. And Dermot Mulroney, like I said, I haven't seen it. So did you ever do a scene with him or?
Yeah, I did some scenes with him.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, I did. Yeah, it was lovely.
Yeah. We've been trying to, do you know what Cameo is? It's like a website where like you pay a celebrity
Yeah.
and they give you a like
Like
not
a
to,
happy birthday message or something like
yeah,
that.
yeah. Like not to brag, but I'm like an F-list celebrity, so I'm on Cameo. So like what I've been doing is because like Dermot's like one of my heroes, right? So I do this thing called Cameo Sensation. And I tell I worked with Christy Swanson, so I think it will work with Dermot. So I tell everyone, hey, book Dermot Mulroney and say, hey, you got to do Raise a Riffs, right? So his whole, I'm hoping his whole email is just flooded with it to do this podcast. I don't know.
Oh, wow.
So I thought, hey, that's a unique way to get some guy's attention who you don't know, right?
Right.
I don't know.
Okay, we'll see if it works.
Yeah. Victor was making fun of me, but I thought it was funny. Victor, you got
it hasn't worked sometimes. That's why I make fun of you, because it doesn't work. But I applaud you for it. That's amazing. It's worked at least once that I know of. But
wow, that's great.
Yeah, but no, Keith has his ways. He made me call Gilbert Gottfried's representative one time and pretend to be him. So it was, yeah. They didn't call me back. But I have a question, and this is not like a loaded question or anything. I had to preface it with that. You played Luisa Sanchez on All of My Children, and how did you prepare to portray a Latina woman?
It was so long ago, so let's think. I think I just tried to work on the accent and what the character was and what the scenes were about. I had, at that time, I don't know that I'd done anything on film. Maybe I'd done one guest star, maybe two.
Yeah.
So I was real nervous.
Oh, wow.
And so I just tried to study the scenes and know what I was doing. And it was very specific that she was part of this guy's checkered past and la-di-da-di-do. So I didn't do certainly probably enough, but I just tried to have what I could available to me to just do this. You know, she was a very sweet woman, as I recall, and just to try to, you know, do this justice
Yeah.
as far as the emotional part of it.
And then I wanted to ask about Sex, Lies, and Videotape, because that is a movie that I think is fantastic, but I feel like maybe when you did it, like, I don't know, was it like a movie that people told you not to do because it's very, you know what I mean?
Sure.
Does that make sense? Like,
Yeah, sure. There was people in that were, you know, some of my agents didn't want me to do it because they didn't understand the tone and they felt like it was really just out there and way too sexual and and like pornographic. But you know, I had met Steven, and so I think I turned it down. He has reminded me that I had turned it down a couple of times,
oh, really?
which
Oh,
I don't remember, you know, it was a long time ago. And
yeah,
sometimes you put those things out of your mind. But I did, but I kind of felt like I understood the material because I felt like the material was about lying. The material was about being dishonest and lying to yourself and to others through the medium of sexuality,
yeah,
which is really great for getting people's attention.
yeah,
That's a great medium to get people's attention,
yeah,
and about betrayal of all kinds, and about love, and a lot about sisters. So that's what it was really about for me, was those things, and the sexuality was just part of how people were betraying or finding themselves or understanding the world or like that.
yeah. I thought it was great. And like I said, you know, that's one of those movies that I think has really changed people's perspectives on a lot of stuff too. So
Yeah, at that time it really put independent film um on back on the map.
yeah. And then this might be a very stupid question, but I apologize. I don't know the answer. So when people do uncredited work, because you've done a couple uncredited work, like uh how does that, like, why does that come up uncredited? Like, is it just something because contract wise, or
Let's see. You know, I can't remember. I know that I did an animated series,
gar-
uncredited,
gargoyles, right?
Gargoyles, which
Yeah,
people loved,
yeah,
of course, recognized my voice. And I don't really remember why I did it uncredited at that time. I
yeah.
don't remember. I have no idea, actually.
Yeah, it's one of those like weird mysteries. I don't
Yeah,
know.
it's like, well, you're gonna, you know, because this is a foray into a different medium for you, let's, you know, do it uncredited, and it makes it kind of like a surprise, or I really don't know.
Yeah. I my best friend was Norm Macdonald, and I asked him about this like when he was alive and stuff.
Mm.
And he told me he's, because he did a Douche Bigelow 2 or something. And I asked him about it, and he's like, "Well, have you seen the movie?" I was like, "Yeah." He's like, "It fucking sucked." So I was like, "Oh, okay." But
What a great best friend to have.
oh yeah, yeah. I mean, I was his opening act, so I toured with him for 9 years. So
Oh, wow.
yeah, so but yeah. And I have a funny question for you. Do you like
Yeah.
funny questions? Okay.
Yeah.
Do you ever think what would happen if Richard Gere picked you up instead?
That's a really good question. Let me think about that.
I didn't think Keith was gonna ask. I thought he was goofing.
I might have tried to talk him into investing in some kind of business scheme with me.
Right.
I would try to get him into a partnership.
Yeah.
Maybe some beauty parlors or something.
Have you ever been asked that? I mean, I
Never.
thought, oh
Never.
yeah. I was like, because I'm sure you get asked about Pretty Woman a lot, so I like to try and like twist it. You know, it's like, she's probably
Never.
heard Pretty Woman. She probably hates
Never.
the movie by now.
Never been asked that question.
Oh,
That's
awesome.
my instinct. My instinct would have been she would have started talking.
Yeah.
She maybe would have smoked a little joint, probably, try to convince him to smoke a little joint with her. And then she would have planned out, because this is a guy who really has money, right?
Yeah.
So let's try to go for the long game. Let's be partners and we'll invest in something. I think that's what she would try to have done. And that could have been a very funny scene.
Sequel, Pretty Woman 2. Right? We could do it. I know like all the cast is kind of over that, but we could pitch it up, right? I don't know.
Great question.
Well, thank you. And then I wanted to ask you, I have 3 more questions and I want to respect your time. I wanted to ask you, on Just Shoot Me, you know how, like, say, for example, if a joke didn't work or whatever, and all the writers would they'll huddle, be like, all right, Laura has to say this or something. And then they do it and it didn't work. They'd be like, all right, let's huddle again. Did you ever join the huddle and be like, listen, let's try it my way?
I don't think so, because when you get to there, unless you're David or David Cross, you know what I mean? This is on a different level. But a couple of times I had a line and I would bring it to them much earlier than on show night. On show night, it belongs to them.
Right.
And so there's, it's just, you can really feel like it's not my milieu. So my milieu is to try to, deliver, serve and deliver, but I can't be writing, I'm a writer.
Yeah, you play off the words and you make it funny like that.
Hopefully, yes. But I've watched these guys, like comedy writers, stand-up comics, and the way they think. And it's so interesting to watch somebody writing in their head. Like when David would be trying to think of a line and he would be like really still and quiet, and he would kind of go like this. And he's running through things in his mind. Maybe that's my guess. And I'm sure that I asked him about it and we talked about it. So I don't think I'm totally, maybe it doesn't always work this way, but I would see him kind of scrolling through the choices until he gets to the one and then very calmly says it. And I think David Cross did the same thing. So just watching people who are extremely funny by nature be so silent and just feeling the energy that they're going through these, first choice, second choice, third choice, fourth choice, fifth choice to the side. Like and what that's like because you do that. It's so interesting to watch because actors would probably try it out a different way, try it out with a different word, try it out with a different rhythm until and then maybe pull it back. and just
Yeah.
say it really, and say, say it really under. Find okay, but maybe is it following the line of the scene? Is it following the direction of the scene? Is it serving the material? So I think we're more playing in the clay outside of ourselves, and you guys play in the clay inside your minds.
Yeah.
Really
That,
interesting to watch.
it's interesting, but it's also dangerous too, because like if you say
Oh,
what's on your mind, like for example, if that Pretty Woman question didn't work and you would have signed off, I'd have been like, oh God, my favorite hates me. You know what I mean?
no, that was a great question. That was
Uh,
great.
so I have another question where like if you could remake one of your films today with like the same type of thing, what would you do? Like, you know what I mean? Like, what would you do today? Like, what was your most fun filming?
Well, you mean to like do it better, things I would change, or things that were just fun and relive it?
I would say things you could
Or,
change.
all right, let me think. Oh man. I mean, there are scenes in Jennifer that I really felt like when it was done, I was like, oh, did not, I really didn't get it. And I was very concerned because she was, there a little bit, and her sisters were there. And so there was this kind of balancing between playing her, playing the essence of her, playing the character of Jennifer. It was tricky, and being respectful, but there was something that wasn't loose about the way I did that I felt like there were some scenes that I wish I could have redone. They
Yeah.
just didn't they just didn't have it. Just Shoot Me was so effing fun. I mean, God, I would just love to, do some episodes of that. That would be super fun.
That might happen though, because like a lot of shows are like, I mean, I know George Segal's no longer with us, but a lot of shows
Yeah.
they're doing, like they're doing that type of stuff like for the fans.
Yeah. I
So
don't know. I don't know. I
uh,
mean, I know that there was a couple of years that we were really in, at the top of viewership, like we were doing really well. But I don't know if we were, so popular that I don't know.
yeah.
That's not my decision. But certainly that, Sex Lives was really great and fun. Um, but I'm mostly just really happy that I get to play this 900-year-old witch
I
because
know,
it's
right? Isn't
so
that cool?
fun. And it's on Disney Plus,
Yeah.
and it's dropping right now, season 2. And I'm only plugging it because it's so fun. I have so much fun doing this part.
Yeah. I mean, it's not every day you could, you're almost 1,000, you know what I mean?
Exactly.
So what did you do for your 900th birthday?
I think she just sat alone in her cabin and cooked some soup
Uh,
and played around with some magic, turned things into things, and had
uh,
fun all by herself. All by herself.
do you think maybe she'd like do a magic like curse and be like, all right, so we're gonna travel back in 1990 and we're gonna make Laura get in the car with Richard Gere.
Changing film history from my cabin of La Bufana.
That would be awesome. So I have two more questions. I want to respect your time. And this question I actually just occurred to me right out of the blue, so I didn't prepare for this. But how would you feel about writing and starring in a movie about cerebral palsy and do it from your experiences, since you know what it's like, you could get it right. Like, would that be something you would be willing to do?
Well, I've read certain things, people send me stuff,
Yeah.
and if it was the right project, but I almost think I'm too close to it because as you know, there's so many different variations, and everybody is unique, and everybody who is a mom is unique, and their
Yeah.
perspective is very unique. And so I've at one point went around the country and did a lot of educational seminars and stuff about inclusive education and the importance of inclusive education. And I've also talked to physical therapists, people who are training to be physical therapists, about my experience. And I almost think when I read something, I'm almost too close to it because I get that little bit caught up in, well, it's not exactly my experience. And it's almost like someone else should do it because they'll have a cleaner slate. And
Right.
I'll just want to push it towards exactly my experience. And I can't write it because I don't have that kind of brain to write story, to like see the whole story. I'm very myopic, and I see my perspective and my character or my point of view. And so there've been a couple of projects that have had some subject matter that I thought were really well written and that I wanted to do, like this show that I did where I was just a guest star with Joe Mantegna, and I was really looking forward to doing more of that. And then there's another piece that someone has written that has a similar qualities to it, and I love that piece.
Yeah.
I wouldn't play the mother. I would just play a different character, and I loved it. And so we'll see if that ever gets made. But I don't think that I will write the story. I don't think I could do it.
When you were telling how like I really wanted to do it, I thought you were talking about this podcast. I was like, oh, excited, and then you said a different show. I was like, huh. And then my last question for you, Laura, is if you could go into a time machine and talk to a younger version of yourself, it could be from yesterday or it could be when you were 12 or whatever, what time would you go and what would you say to yourself?
This is a very hard question.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Should I change the question?
No.
Oh, okay.
I want to give it breath.
Okay.
I want to be able to take the breath. Because I think that I think I would go to I think I would go to somewhere around when my son was born and tell myself that it's all gonna be okay.
Yeah.
It's all gonna be okay. And I've done a pretty good job of being consistent with that. Like, I learned the lessons of with various transitions in his life, being extremely fearful. And then I started to learn that, oh, it's okay. Listen, never underestimate the power of a transition, and it's going to be okay, because each new experience that unfolds is expanding. And as long as I see it that way, so will he. If I'm shut down and fearful and scared out of my mind, then of course he's going to sense that and feel the same thing. And so I tried to teach myself expansion. It's going to be okay. But it took a while for me to get there.
Yeah.
And if only we could erase all of our fear and just not the fear that keeps us safe in the world, but the fear of transitions and big things in our life, that it's pretty much going to be okay. Might not always work out the way we want it to, but there are things unfolding and expanding that we don't even know. And that therein lies the journey.
Yeah. That's my favorite answer anyone's ever said. So that's awesome. Yeah, seriously, because usually people will say an answer and I'll be like, oh, well, thank God it was that. And he didn't say, hey, don't do Keith Reza's podcast. But I loved your answer so much that I don't even want to tell that joke of it. Where can the folks at home follow and support you at?
I don't do any social media.
Which could be good.
Old lady, and I don't do social media.
All right. Well, that's
because I say stupid things sometimes, and I don't want to have to apologize for everything I say. No, I don't think I would say anything that would offend anybody, but I just I'm sort of, pretty private in my life, and I'm really busy. I still, have a really big, full life, and my arms are still full.
Yeah.
So I just don't do that kind of thing.
Well, thank you so much for taking time of your busy
you.
day. It was an honor to interview you, and I hope I did a good job, and it was nice to make you smile.
You did fantastic. I loved your questions. It was fabulous. And when I figure out what the name of that show was, I will email it to you.
All right. Well, Laura, have a great day. And
Mwah!
All right. I'll send you Pretty Woman 2 in a couple weeks. All right, guys. Subscribe.
Okay.
All right.
Take care. Be well.
Great chatting.
All right. Subscribe, rate, review. That was the show, guys. And we'll see you guys next week. That was awesome.
Yeah, man, that was great. I had a great time, man. She was really nice.
They always leave before I stop recording and say, oh, by the way, one more question.
Oh my God, that'd be fucking hilarious. Like, dude, you can't do that to the guest. That's too funny. That's too funny. Oh my God. Yeah, that was fun, man. She was cool.
All right. Guys, that was our interview with Laura San Giacomo, and we'll see you guys next week.
You're listening to Reza Riffs with Keith Reza and Alan Lee, right here on LA Talk Radio.